to Cooking with Raja, the Naked Chef. Last week is actually when the first time I've aired my first video. That was my very first, and we made a Filipino dish, which is Bistik. So Tagalog Bistik. So you know how sometimes, especially me, we're going to talk about how I make batches of food. Like, it's a lot. It's so hard for me to make small batches of food. I guess it's not only that I'm Filipino, it's the Asian thing, but it's just I'm used to it. I used to work in the kitchen, so it's hard to make small batches. So what we're doing today actually is we're going to tweak, or we're going to reinvent the leftover food that we had from last time's preparation. So from Bistik, we're gonna try to see if we could make something else off of it. So, and I've already thought of what I'm going to present to you guys today. So what I'm actually trying to teach you guys is you do not want to throw away food. You don't want to waste food. Instead of buying food for your meal for the next day, why don't you just go and check out what's in your fridge and see what you have in there, and maybe you could, you know, tweak it, and maybe you could reinvent it and make something off of it. And I am a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of not wasting food, and I'm a big fan of creating different dishes off of what you already have. So today, what I'm going to show you guys, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to tweak and reinvent that Bistik. So I'm going to make an omelette wrap, kind of like a burrito thing. So we are going to have a fried rice wrapped in a egg omelette with that Bistik leftover that we have, and we're just gonna add a little bit something in there, like, you know, some sauces, extra sauces, and some spinach. Now, if you notice, I don't have a lot of stuff in here to add in it, only because that food was already flavored. So you need to put that in consideration before you add some. Yes, you can reinvent it, you can tweak it, but you have to realize what you've already put in that recipe, so you don't over season it. You know what I'm saying? So like with this one, for instance, the Bistik, there's a lot of flavors in there already. It's been marinated, so I don't need to put salt in there. I don't need to put any other extra sauces in there. I could reuse its sauce, and that's what we're going to do today. So without further ado, I'm kind of like mumbling here, trying to rush it. I should slow down. So we're going to start with what we're going to use for this recipe. I don't know how to really call it. I just thought of it just, you know, a couple days ago. So, well, maybe we could call it like an omelette, you know, a wrap omelette, fried rice wrapped in an omelette. How's that? So what we're going to need is an old rice, not older than a 4-year-old. I think it's steak. It's not anything that is 4 to 6 days old rice that's in the fridge could actually grow a bacteria, and it's called, I learned this in school, Bacillus cereus. Okay, Bacillus cereus, if I'm not mistaken, that bacteria could actually grow in the rice, cooked rice, and also fried rice, especially fried rice. So that bacteria could grow. So you don't want to do that. So this rice is only actually a day old, and it's I let it sit out in the fridge so you get a little hard. We're gonna use that for our fried rice. So that's what we're gonna need. Depending on how much you need, this is about 3 cups of old rice. All right, and then eggs, already beaten eggs. This is for the omelette. We're gonna use that. I use at least 10 medium eggs on this one. Okay, already beaten. So, and then the sauce for that Bistik that we had from last time, I saved it. If you can see some clumps, that's actually the beef fats. So it's still cold. Also a slurry. We're gonna need that slurry. A slurry is actually a combination of water and flour. So the measurement on that one is a 2:1. So let's just say I put 1/4 cup of flour, then you're gonna need half a cup of water to make a slurry. All right, so to thicken the sauce. That's for at the ending, for later on, for garnishing, just to put on top. And then of course the beef steak meat, I chopped it already. So it's about what, 12 ounces of this, and whatever you have left, just chop it all up and use it all up. Okay, and I'm just gonna add some spinach in there because I have some leftover spinach from the other day. So I'm just going to use that rather than wasting it. Like I said, I'm a big fan of saving food, and I'm a big fan of reinventing stuff, and not a big fan of throwing things away, food, especially food. You know, if we can repurpose it, why not? So let's get started, shall we? Okay, so here we go. We're going to need, of course, my number one rule is hot pan and hot oil. So we are not deep frying, so it should not be drenched in oil. So just enough to actually cover the surface, because we're trying to make an omelette that we're going to use to wrap that the fried rice and the steak. So it's actually like a burrito kind of thing. So it's pretty thin, all right? So you can use canola oil or the canola oil spray. You can use that, like, you know, so every time you want to what do you call this, lubricate your pan every time after you fry something. So you can either use this a thong, the flat nose thongs, or you could use a fork, but I don't want to recommend that only because you're gonna break it. So I would highly suggest you can use this one, that you should use this one, okay? So I think our pan is ready and it's hot. Mind your fire, you don't want to overburn, you don't want to burn it. So here we go. I would do like 2 scoops of this, 2 to 3 scoops. Here you go. Like I said, it's going to be pretty thin. You can use, I advise for you to use the non-stick pan. It's better result. So you can do that. And just kind of watch it. Just enough, like when you see the surface start to solidify, then you can either flip it or you can just toss it on on your plate, because it's gonna continue cooking anyways. But just as long as the top or the surface is already solid, then that's ready. That's your sign that it's ready. And it's good to have a little color at the bottom anyways, because when you flip it, when you try to wrap the rice and the meat in there, then you can see some color. So it would add a little, you know, texture on top of, you know, a little character on your food when you try to present and when you try to plate it. All right. Be patient. Patience is the best virtue. That's when you get the best results, and when you are patient. So like I said, patience, my dear. So when you see it bubbling up, just kind of like press it in and try to spread the liquid around it, so you don't have like a thin spot or a thin space. You know, in one area you have a thick one, in one area you have a thin one. So this is about ready. And like I said, it doesn't have to be like all cooked on the top, because when you put the rice and the meat in there, it's still hot, so it's just gonna continue cooking. So this is what it's gonna look like. There you go. So it's how it's supposed to look like. All right, like a pancake. Okay, so that's one part of it. Now the next thing that we're going to do is make the sauce for it. Use the same pan, only because so the flavors are all in there. And if you notice, like I said, I didn't even put a salt on that egg, because like I said, there's going to be a lot of flavors in the meat already, so you don't want to overspice it. So now we're just going to reduce the sauce. That's for later on at the end. We're going to drench it over the omelette. So this is just the sauce. We're going to reduce it and make it thicker, so it looks more. It looks better when you put it on top of the omelette. And always clean as you go. I'm a big fan of that, and I'm just like, it's just my OCD. I like it. I like to clean as I go. I'm sorry, I didn't realize the fan was on. That was too loud. So I clean as I go, as I was saying. And then we're just going to reduce the sauce. So wait until it simmers, and then when you see that start simmering, when you see that start a little boil, then we're gonna add our slurry, and then make it thicker. Just make it thicker. So yeah, it's good. And as you stir, we're not gonna use the whole thing because we don't have that much sauce. So just enough. And then make sure when you're making your slurry also, make sure that you dissolve all the flour, because you don't want it to be clumping. You don't want to be like making your sauce and skimming all that clump or clumps of the flour off of your sauce. So you just want to make sure that it's totally dissolved. I think that's about that is what I want the thickness to be. It smells so good. This is the sauce from the previous recipe that we did last week or last time. See, that's pretty thick actually. Then add a little bit more. And I'm done. Alright, so this is actually ready. It's reduced. And once you see that it actually covers your spoon, then that's actually good. That's done already. That's pretty reduced. So just transfer that. Lower your fire. Because we're going to be using the same pan in sauteing the meat and rice. So like fried rice. With the same pan, so all the flavors, like I said, are all going to be all in there. You don't want to waste flavor. You want to just keep, you know, using that flavor. So we're just going to transfer that here. And I'm going to put it on the side. Because it's going to keep evaporating. Liquids are going to keep evaporating. And what's going to be left is the sauce. So it's going to be pretty much concentrated. Okay. Just saute for like a minute or so. And then you can add your rice. This rice, by the way, when I made it, I add butter in this rice. I don't know about doing that. And I cooked it in a pot. So I don't really need to add a lot of grease or oil in there. Besides, the meat already has a lot of grease. Natural juice from its, you know, from the previous sauces. The rice also has butter. So you don't need a lot of grease in there. So we just flatten it. And just leave it there for a sec. Once you hear it starting going, popping like a popcorn, then start stirring it. I'm still yet to get a new wok. Like I said, I damaged my wok. So I gotta get a new one. I'm so used to like cooking in a wok. It's faster. Okay. So when you think this is ready, it's actually just pretty ready. Then you add your spinach at the end. You might think this is a lot. This spinach was sliced chiffonade, by the way. You can slice it however you want to slice it because it's just going to shrink anyways once you put it in the pan. So don't be shy because once it gets into the pan, it's going to shrink. So it's all good. So just mix it all up, and after this, we're ready to go, and I'm going to show you how to wrap it like a burrito. Alright? It's all ready. This is still hot, so that's why I said earlier, if you remember, I mentioned about when you were pan frying your egg or your omelette, don't worry about too much if it's too, the top is cooked or not too cooked, because this is still hot, so it's just going to continue cooking. Alright, so this is what we're going to do. We're just going to portion the rice. I already washed my hands, by the way. Always wash your hands before you touch anything else. And I'm used to like touching hot food at work, so this is almost nothing to me. Alright. So you just portion the rice there. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be a perfect burrito wrap. It's egg. It's very fragile, so it might rip. So you don't want to do that. So basically what you're trying to do, just like that. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just make sure you have just the right enough amount of the fried rice and the beef in there. See how it looks nice. And then wrap it up. And flip. And it should look like this. Alright. Now I'm going to show you how to plate it and then finish it up. And I'll show you the finished product. Alright. This is how it looks like after I plate it. Make sure when you plate, you clean the sides of the plate. Like I said, this is just for presentation only if you're going to present it to someone. But if you're just going to eat it by yourself, like, you know, at home, just do whatever. But this is just how I would plate it if I were to present it to someone. So nothing too fancy. You'll see the picture at the end. Alright, thank you again. And again, this is your chef, Chef Raja, the Naked Chef. And do not forget to subscribe and like the video. We would have some more coming up in the near future. Also, I do have a Facebook page. It's Chef Raja. Don't forget to like. and also to follow, and also I have an Instagram, Chef Raja, and all my stuff and crazy pictures are all in there, so please follow me. Thank you, and thank you so much. Do not forget to subscribe, and don't forget to like.